Hello again, friends, and welcome into another edition of Wrestling with Rusty right here on YouTube and Facebook. Ho, 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 ho. And we're not talking about Penelope Ford or Betsy Welch as the ho. Merry Christmas to all of you. Welcome into another edition of Wrestling with Rusty right here on YouTube and Facebook. We're talking tonight about Owen Hart Memorial Tournament, which will begin on AEW television in May, with the finals to be at AEW's pay-per-view, their version of WrestleMania, AEW W or Double or Nothing. If I can get that out, that's a lot to say. AEW's Double or Nothing. Good Lord, I can't say that. Let's try it for the third time. AEW Double or Nothing. 2022 in May. There'll be a men's version and a women's version on that same night. That'll be the finals of the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament. As many of you know, Owen Hart passed away during a WWE pay-per-view in Kansas City back on May 23rd, 1999, with a stunt that had gone wrong in the WWE, then the WWF World Wrestling Federation, in which Owen Hart was to descend from the top of the Kansas City Kemper Arena in a superhero-like Mary Poppins type of an entrance, and the harness and clip broke on his harness, and he fell approximately 94 feet to 88 feet to 100 feet, depending upon which version you believe, to his death in Kansas City. Owen Hart's wife, Martha, and their family sued, and they won reportedly $18 million. But that $18 million doesn't bring back a father, a son, a brother, and most importantly, one of the most honest and nice people in the wrestling business, Owen Hart. I never had a chance to meet him, but if I did, he would be on the list for me to meet him. There were many people in the wrestling business that I've met, and there are many that I haven't met. And if he were alive, he'd be one of the ones in the wrestling business that I would have tried to meet, even though I had no interest and still have no interest in WWE. I'm more of a realistic-based pro wrestling old school fan of NWA and other promotions that treat wrestling seriously, not a comedy act like AEW does most of the time, or WWE or Impact, something like that. But it's not about comedy. It's about Owen Hart. There will be a men's and women's division with single elimination, and the winner will receive the Owen Hart Memorial Cup. Owen Hart's widow, Martha Hart, and children will be in attendance to honor Owen, and I'm sure they will have other members of the family there if needed. I don't know that exactly, but I'm suspecting there'll be other people there that will honor Owen. If you check out AEW Wrestling's Twitter account, they put out a promotional video, which also aired on AEW Wrestling Dynamite tonight on TNT at 8 p.m., honoring the legacy and life of Owen Hart. AEW started in 2019, long after Owen Hart had died. However, there are many friends there in AEW now, which were in the WWE at the time of Owen Hart's death, such as Matt Hardy, Mark Henry, and Dustin Rhodes, Cody Rhodes, many others. So it ought to be a great night and honoring one of the all-time greats of the pro wrestling business, Owen Hart. And hopefully it'll be going on each year at Double or Nothing. But if not at Double or Nothing, hopefully they will continue it each year and honor the legacy of Owen Hart. So I'll be bringing you more details as they become available on that particular issue. If you will allow me, while we're on the subject of Owen Hart, to give my opinion. I think I mentioned this in an earlier video years ago when I started the channel, but I'll mention it here again since we're talking about the Owen Hart death. It is my opinion that the show should have been stopped on May 23rd, 1999, when Owen Hart died, for several reasons. One, out of respect for Owen Hart and the family. Two, it should have been investigated criminally for a possible crime site or negligence on the part of WWF or any other member in that arena. And third, it should have been stopped, and the audience in the arena should have been told what happened. The audience in the arena was not told what had happened at the time. Only the pay-per-view audience at the time was told eventually what happened. Therefore, the show should have been stopped. There are more important things in life than professional wrestling. It took me many years to figure that out. I never was a professional wrestler, but I knew many people in the pro wrestling business, past and present. And while I appreciate the pro wrestling business and the art form that it is, I realize in the real world there are many more important things that are more important than professional wrestling. Like my love for the lovely and talented Deborah Baker. Deborah is not my girlfriend. She's only a friend, but I love Deborah. Deborah has been there for me at a time when nobody else has. Deborah, if you ever see this, I love you. To those of you out there that have subscribed to my channel over the last 2 weeks, I thank you. I think I went up from 33 subscribers or 30 something subscribers to 50 something subscribers and over 5,200 views on this channel. So please remember to tell your friends and family to like the videos, watch the videos, and subscribe to the channel. Most of the videos on here are about professional wrestling, but not all of the videos. Some are about past girlfriends and pieces of shit like Betsy Welch, and others are about pro wrestling. Others are about life in a wheelchair, as I am in a wheelchair. But getting back to wrestling, I've been around the wrestling business since the age of 3. As of February 16th, 2022, I will be 53 years of age. I have never wrestled. I've never been a promoter. I've only been a fan, and I grew up in the heart of Jim Crockett Promotions, NWA, National Wrestling Alliance territory, and Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling in Charlotte, North Carolina, run by Jim Crockett Promotions. So I saw how wrestling should have been taken seriously, and I hope that since the business is in a decline now and people are not watching wrestling the way they used to, I hope that we will eventually get back to taking pro wrestling seriously. You can't go back and pretend that it's real, but you don't have to slap people in the face either that it's not real. Special thanks to one of my YouTube subscribers out there, Joe. Joe, if you're out there and you see this, come by and see me sometime, man. I'd like to meet you. Special thanks to my other buddy, Joe Bohannon, out there that is different than the other Joe I just mentioned. Joe Bohannon, thank you. Deborah Baker, I love you. And anybody else watching this channel, I appreciate your support. For those of you that have asked me about Devin Hannibal Nicholson over the last several days, I put Devin Hannibal Nicholson in the same category as I do one of my ex-girlfriends, Betsy Welch. It's a case of mind over matter. People like Devin and Betsy and the Blood Hunter, people like that is a case of mind over matter. I don't mind because you simply don't matter. Hopefully Devin will get banned from the wrestling business, except for his company that he has, Great North Wrestling in Canada. But anyway, getting back to the Owen Hart thing, I look forward to some great wrestling from the men's and women's perspective, and look forward to seeing how the tournament turns out. I hope that it's traditional sports-based pro wrestling that AEW promised us in 2019. And there have been times when they have been more comedy than they have been wrestling. But in recent times, they've been more wrestling than they have comedy. So hopefully they can get back to being more sports-based pro wrestling and a lot less comedy. On another matter, if you please, if you will allow me to do before I close this out, my suicide prevention promo in memory of my friend and the late pro wrestler and former NWA World Tag Team Champion with Sergeant Slaughter, Don Kernodle, who also was a World Tag Team Champion with Ivan Koloff and Crusher Khrushchev in the NWA. Pro wrestler Don Kernodle, based out of Burlington, North Carolina. Don passed away in May of 2021 from a gunshot wound where he committed suicide. So I've tried to do this promo not only in memory of him, but in memory of anybody who is thinking about committing suicide or has had battles with depression, because I don't mind telling you, I've had some troubles like that myself in the past. If you or someone you know is thinking about committing suicide or has had battles with depression, please call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-TALK. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They never close. If you don't want to call them, call somebody that you trust, because the sooner you get help, the better your chances for results. Please remember, it's not our job to decide when we leave this world. It's God's job to decide that. And that's going to do it for me. Rusty, I'm out of here. We'll see you again next time for another edition of Wrestling with Rusty right here on YouTube and Facebook. And for those of you that sent me emails, yes, we got through one video without talking about that piece of shit, Betsy Welch. Deborah Baker, I love you. Joe, take care, boss man. We'll see you next time right here on another edition of Wrestling with Rusty right here on YouTube and Facebook. And until we meet again, from the voice of Ring of Honor, Ian Riccaboni, one of the greatest pro wrestling announcers in this generation these days, happy wrestling, everybody.